Many in the crowd at Lansdowne Park in Ottawa have bought tickets in the hope of seeing the professional football debut of the Rocket. They've already been disappointed, and so now it remains for the rest of Adam Rita's Toronto Argos and the Ottawa Rough Riders under Steve Goldman to play the 1991 season opener on the CFL on CBC. Bruce McNall, John Candy, and Wayne Gretzky brought Hollywood glitz to Toronto when they bought the Argos in February, and then created an even bigger story when they signed the most expensive football player in the world. Raghib Ismail, hereinafter referred to as the Rocket, dazzled at Notre Dame. A consensus #1 NFL draft pick, he opted for Canada and immediately began a honeymoon with fans and media. No other CFL signing was ever as heralded as this one. Reporters hung on Rocket's every word. The combination of player and owners, surely the best thing to happen to the CFL in recent memory. A story that not even an institute of higher broadcasting like the CBC could resist. Then it came time for football, and the Rocket has been proven only human. A muscle pull just days into training camp has rendered him inactive. He got no closer to action than the bench in both Argo preseason games, and the most often asked question in the days leading up to the CFL season opener, would the Rocket play? Conditions are good in the nation's capital for a Rocket launch, but the Rocket will stay on the pad for at least one more week. The launch is on hold. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Ottawa, where the major story of this game is not who will play in it, but who will not. We've known since yesterday morning that Rocket Ismail will not play tonight. The Rocket held a press conference in Toronto yesterday to confirm the injury he suffered in training camp will keep him out of tonight's game, and to declare that he's as frustrated about it as anybody else. He is in Ottawa for the game. Late this afternoon, he arrived with Argo owner Bruce McNall and company on the owner's private jet. And about 90 minutes ago, they got to Lansdowne Park, where Ismail faced another media contingent, answering, it seemed, innumerable questions about his state of health and his state of mind. He has yet to catch a pass, yet to return a punt or a kick, but he holds the CFL record for press conferences. Raghib Ismail is with us now to answer one more question yet. It's not a new one, it's a pretty obvious one. When do you think you can play?
I think that I feel that I can play today, but the doctors told me that that wouldn't be smart. And they told me that it's going to be something where if everything goes the way they think it should go with the test and everything, I should be ready next week.
Gib, thanks for your time now. We're happy to say that you've agreed to join us on Live at the Half to talk about some of the intense scrutiny you've been under and perhaps some of the wild speculation you've been the subject of. We look forward to seeing you then.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Well, Raghib Ismail's signing in the offseason was certainly the most talked about transaction in the CFL, but there was one that greatly affected our CFL on CBC crew. Before we get to that, there's John Candy now entering the stadium, one of the Argo partners, and as you can see, he's a big hit with this crowd. Well, if $18 million of the Rockets' contract is guaranteed, then he's collecting about $250,000 for not playing tonight, and this is a man who's paying a substantial portion of it. Principal Argonaut owner Bruce McNall. Bruce, you're used to very positive press. You get lots of it for the way you handle the Kings in the NHL. You got lots when you bought the Argos and signed the Rocket in the CFL, but in the past week, this has become something of a negative story. Has it been handled properly?
Well, I think that if everybody knew all the facts from the beginning, it would have been a lot easier, frankly, but you know, it's one of those things that nobody really knew exactly what was happening from the standpoint of his thigh. The injury was there. We were all concerned about it. He was very frustrated. He wanted to play, and he kept saying, "I want to play." But I have this thing. So we took him to Los Angeles and had the King's doctor Lombardo look at him as well and said, "No, he's got this injury," and bingo, there we are. But in a way, you always wish that things could have been handled a little bit smoother, but with injuries like this, there's no certainties about anything.
I must ask you about the Los Angeles trip. I know that it was in part to receive a second medical opinion, but we also understand that it was a pre-planned business trip. What about the prudency of being in Los Angeles away from his team for 4 or 5 days on the eve of them preparing for the season opener?
Well, one of the things that's happened, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, is we're trying to sell the sport all around the world, basically, and make sure that Canadian football has a little attention. And about 4 or 5 weeks ago, the CFL, we were able to make a deal for the trading card business for the CFL in general. And one of the requirements that they had was for him to be there at this big show. So we made an arrangement for him to come out for one day, something I'm used to with Wayne a lot. It happens even during the season with him too. Get used to these things. And because that came along, we decided to try to have the second medical opinion at the same time.
Well, you know now with each practice he misses, each game he doesn't play, the pressure mounts. It's enormous now, and I'm wondering if you still feel confident that when he takes the field to play a game, he'll do something to prove he's worth the money, and that you'll feel you can recover the investment.
We certainly hope so. You know, I'm sure that he's used to pressure. I mean, it seems like a lot of pressure at the moment. He's used to it at Notre Dame too. Let's face it. He's a young man who's been used to pressure all of his life. This is not unusual. I wouldn't be too concerned with it, and I'm sure when he gets on the field, he'll get a lot of people, a lot of thrills. The suggestion would be he'll play next week at the Sky Dome before the hometown fans, even if he's on a stretcher. Is that a fair assumption? Yeah, we'll wheel him out there. Actually, you know, he's okay now. It's just that he hadn't practiced in 3 weeks, hadn't been out in condition at all for 3 weeks because of the injury held him back. So as I understand it now, the doctor said that his injury is now okay. He just has to get back in practice, get in game shape, and I'm sure he'll be able to play next week. Bruce, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Happy to, no problem. Riders General Manager Joanne Polak, who is looking at a crowd probably larger than you would have had not any of these tickets been bought in anticipation of the Rocket playing. If he was playing, could you have sold it out?
There's a couple of issues involved. There's the fact that this game is being broadcast in our local market for the first time. There's the fact that he's not playing. It's hard to say what all the variables would have added up to, but there's no question the interest in this game has been higher than anything I've seen since I've been here.
Well, you've had to try no end of things to get fans in the ballpark in the past few years. Did the Rocket make it a little bit easy for you this time?
Yeah, it was really nice because nobody can blame me for this one. No, it was nice. He really did, you know, so many people talked about this game this week. There's not a person in this market who doesn't know the Rough Riders are playing the Argos here at Lansdowne tonight.
Joanne, when the Rocket was signed, there was some concern about his huge contract throwing the CFL salary structure out of whack, but you knew the schedule when he was signed. I suppose that you were delighted that Bruce McNall signed him and paid him all that money because he was coming here first until the injury.
There's no question. As soon as I heard that they'd signed him, I looked at the schedule and just about fell off my chair, realizing that his debut was supposed to be here at Lansdowne. But it's kind of a nice way to start the season with this kind of hype, and I think he's going to be nothing but good things for every single park across the country.
All right, Joanne, we thank you for your time.
Thank you, Scott.
Fans settling into their seats here at Lansdowne Park. They will not see Rocket Ismail play tonight, but we should not forget the Toronto Argo games against the Ottawa Rough Riders are often very entertaining. We'll return to Lansdowne Park in just a moment.
Well, the first few weeks as a head coach have not been easy for Adam Rita. Of course, all the turmoil surrounding the Rocket. He was disappointed, obviously, at not having the Rocket for this season opener, but he feels his passing attack is in pretty capable hands with experienced receivers such as Trumaine Johnson and Jeff Boyd ready to accept those throws from quarterback Matt Dunnigan.
One of the things about the Rocket that people don't seem to understand is when you're at Notre Dame, you got 150 ball players. The lines are 10 deep. You only get one chance to run a route every 5 minutes. Here in the CFL, you run a pass route every 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and all of a sudden you're going to pull a leg muscle, and he wasn't used to the short lines. Players hate short lines.
It is Ottawa 18, Toronto 14 at the half, and we welcome you to Live at the Half at Lansdowne Park. And watching his first 30 minutes of CFL regular action with more than a passing interest was Rocket Ismail. Your impressions? Your impressions of the first half, sir?
Oh, I think everything is going pretty well. You know, a lot of guys getting their first-time jitters out, trying to make everything work out, but it's pretty exciting. I think it's going to get better as the second half goes on.
Now for the hard part of the interview. What of the injury? I know there were huge demands on your time after you signed the contract. Was it possible for you to stay in shape heading into camp, and did that factor at all into the injury?
Oh, I was definitely in shape coming into camp. I worked very hard. Even when I did go off on a road or something, I was able to get a good workout in wherever I was. So it was just a matter of getting, when I think you're leading to like the track. When I was running track, I wasn't able to get quality track workouts in, but as far as being able to work out for the season, I was definitely ready.
Raghib, when you're away from the team, you're injured, you're unable to practice, unable to play, it is easy to lose your focus on football. Have you been able to maintain that focus?
Definitely. It's not hard at all. You know, I've always been, since in high school, been able to keep a tough mental and also physical attitude as far as the approach to the game. And I know what it is that I have to focus on to continue or to have any kind of success. So it wasn't hard at all.
That pretty much answers the question I was going to ask you next, but I'll ask it anyway. Appearances on the Arsenio Hall show are fine, a new clothing line is fine, but you do realize then, obviously, that all of that is not possible unless you play and play well.
Well, things like that, those are just like extra things as far as I'm concerned. Football is what makes those opportunities for me, and it's like my main focus is football and nothing else.
When you signed that lucrative contract, did you have any idea what you were getting into? And I'm talking about leading your life under the same sort of scrutiny that Wayne Gretzky lives his under in hockey.
I thought that it would be very intense, and I was prepared for it, and I am prepared for it. So it's not as distracting or as, I don't know, as mind-boggling as people might think.
So you would say that you've handled the scrutiny and the speculation well?
For myself,
yes.
I haven't let it affect me at all, no.
How's your family handling it?
My mother and everybody's doing well. When I tell them that there's nothing to sweat, nothing to worry about, they believe me and they just keep it like that. So it's no problem at all.
Wayne Gretzky giving you any advice on how to conduct yourself and get through this trying time when you're unable to play?
He's given me a couple of hints, and he's told me that as it goes on, it'll get easier for you, and things will come along where the people in the organization and myself will be able to make things a lot more comfortable. So it's like, it's no problem at all, and he's really gave me some helpful hints as far as that's concerned.
You look at the countless photographers on the sidelines, guys like me asking you for no end of interviews. Obviously the pressure is building by the minute when you're unable to play. Some pressure for you to do a lot of things, be almost magnificent when you do play your first game. Do you acknowledge that pressure?
No, I don't. I don't put any more pressure on it than I have to, and all of this, I don't look at it as pressure. It's something that is a part of the game, and you have to deal with it.
If you were a betting man, would you bet that you would play next week?
I would, but then again, the doctors could come in and spoil everybody's odds, I guess. So
I'll just say this, we're doing the Hamilton-Toronto game next week, and I hope that you're playing and far too busy to be doing interviews like this with us.
Cool, thank you.
Okay, thanks for your time, Rocket. I appreciate it. Stay with us when Live at the Half returns. We'll go live to Edmonton to speak to a colleague of ours, former linebacking great Dan Kepley, standing by there. 7 nights' time we'll be at Skydome in Toronto to watch the renewal of the oldest rivalry in pro sports. Hamilton Ticats make the trip down the QEW to face the Argos, whom we believe will have Rocket Ismail in the lineup, telecast at 7 Eastern. And viewers in Southern Ontario, note you'll be the beneficiaries of the generosity of Bruce McNall, who has lifted the blackout. And here's the man who's got writer's cramp. John Candy sitting in the stands tonight at Lansdowne Park, and he has been signing autographs, we understand, since his arrival, but he has taken in some of the action. Don?
Since becoming involved with the Argos, John Candy has also become tremendously involved with the Canadian Football League. And he is doing everything possible to try and promote the league, to market the league. And obviously, sitting in the stands, signing autographs throughout the entire game the way he has tonight, he is helping to promote the product.
He's not signing autographs, he's drawing up plays for Dunnigan. You can tell they haven't had that communication, that silent communication that happens between a quarterback and receiver. Adam Rita said he was going to shoot out the lights. And later in the year, he would blow off the roof. So I think we've got a lot to look forward to in Toronto's offense.
Well, last year, without the Rocket, the Toronto Argonauts established a league record as they scored 690 points. With an explosive athlete like the Rocket to complement Mike Clemens, who knows what they might do. End zone pass, Jeff Boyd, touchdown.
Like it was a bit underthrown, but Matt likes to do that. He likes to do the throw behind. Here you see Jeff Boyd coming at the sideline, and what he wants to do is to give the impression he's going to try to run deep, and then Matt underthrows him, so he'll turn around and take the ball short. Defender had to play it deep. He's one-on-one. He cannot not take away the deep pass first.
Well, last year, the Argos had to track down Jeff Boyd and get him back into uniform. This year, they had to track him down again and get him back into uniform. And in his first game as a Toronto Argonaut in this 1991 season, he scores a touchdown. And with the point after, it's 35-18. Toronto leading Ottawa. So the length of time between Ottawa victories over Toronto is extended beyond the 4 years. And there were many who were wondering how the Toronto Argonauts would react in their opening game of the season in view of all the turmoil that has surrounded them over the past couple of weeks. Adam Rita suggested he didn't think it would bother the team once they stepped onto the field, that they were trying to put it all behind them. And when you have a player such as Mike Clemens, who racked up 253 total yards tonight, including a 93-yard punt return, a lot of your problems can be put to rest. And the Argos win it by a score of 35-18.
Adam Rita is the winning head coach. He is with us now. Adam, first of all, you get the win in your first crack at it, first game as a pro head coach in the regular season. I suppose it's a game you will not soon forget.
No, it's one I'll remember for a long time. We had so much adversity and things happening to us, and our guys played well.
Well, the adversity you refer to had so much to do with the Raghib Ismail controversy. You rose above it and showed you still had a pretty good football team.
Yes, we're good. You know, I think that our guys proved that. The defense, you know, they really came through for us in our special teams. And Mike Clemens, he's just one of the guys. Chris Mumford, our O-line, you know. We did what we had to do.
Just imagine how good you could be with Raghib Ismail in the lineup next week, if he's as good as you believe he is.
Well, I got to thank management, Mike McCarthy, and the owners for bringing him in. I think that he'll be an added plus to our team. You know, but Boyd and Tremaine Johnson are going to have a night too. So, you know, we're going to have a lot of weapons. It's just deciding how we're going to use them.
All right, Adam, congratulations on the win. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
So the Argos did not have Raghib Ismail tonight, but they had more than enough.